All right, so if I was starting over, this is exactly how I would start a business with $0 and get to 10K a month as soon as humanly possible. Step by step, I'm going to list out everything that I personally did, everything that I recommend in this kind of new day and age of starting online businesses. And again, this is kind of assuming you already have some half decent sales skills, or if you don't, you're at least comfortable putting yourself out there. Okay, you're at least comfortable, cold calling, doing cold emails, that kind of stuff. I'm going to get to that in a minute. I'm going to talk about the idea itself and just the actual process, and really kind of more blend it with my story of exactly what I did. So right off the rip, like business ideas, if you're struggling to think of business ideas, that is the last thing. Ideas are cheap. Ideas are very easy to come by. There are so many podcasts covering so many different business really ideas at this point that I can think of. And I wish I had more time to start them. So seriously, steal a couple of these. Like SMMA for local businesses, that just stands for Social Media Marketing Agency. This has definitely gotten saturated. It's got a little bit of a bad rap these last few years, but it does still work if you know what you're doing and if you niche down a little bit. Social and community management for coaches and creators. That's another big one. Paid ads management for local service providers. Basically, you get ad spend from them. That's their budget. That's your budget. And you run ads to get them customers, to get them a direct ROI, right? A higher return on ad spend. That's a big thing. They will pay you to do so if you can learn how to run ads. TikTok and just short form content creation for small to medium sized businesses. That's a big one. It kind of blends into my favorite one personally if I wasn't doing a lead gen agency, and that would be a content agency. Just help local businesses get on social, get their names out there, build their personal brands. And dude, everyone wants to take advantage of the internet, of content in some way. And that's like a huge one. And that's kind of the offer that we're going to be running with here in a minute. Another one is like selling your knowledge. If you have specialized skill in a niche vertical, someone is willing to pay you for it. I'm telling you, coaching, I know coaching gets a bad rap and there are scammers out there, but there are some very good programs and just mentorship that I've taken personally. I've paid a lot of money for, but it's like, hey, if I'm at step 1, there's someone at step 10 and I can skip or more or less just pay them to get from step 1 to step 9, I'm going to do it. So again, that's just, I want to get the gears turning in your head to think of all the ideas out there because there is so many. So now that that's behind us, again, just a summary, these are all very high value skills that really any reasonable business person will pay you for and see the value in, but you have to pitch it properly. Okay, so that's kind of what we're going to go into in a second. This, I want to start off with step 1. This is more mindset related, but something you need to really understand first before anything. You don't need to worry about the fancy website right now or incorporating or setting up business bank accounts, logos, etc. I've talked about this before, but I've had $7,000 to $8,000 coming in the door before even worrying about any of that stuff. And yes, in the beginning, you may pay a little hair more in taxes working as like a sole proprietor or as a single person than you would corporate, but don't worry about doing that right now. I'd rather worry about the taxes if I have to pay a little bit more rather than just spitting my thumbs and hoping that things kind of turn out better when I'm just not acquiring customers. You need customers, right? These people are your lifeline. We're going to get into that in a couple steps from now, but you don't need to worry about anything fancy. I made that mistake so early on, and it was the dumbest thing that I ever did. I focused on logos and Vistaprint and t-shirts. It was just stupid, right? You don't need to worry about that. If anything, create a free landing page on, I believe it's called, I use Card, CARRD. I use the free plan, but I've also paid for the $9 a year plan. It's dirt cheap. You can build a very simple lander on there. And then all that stuff that I mentioned before, until you get customers, is irrelevant. People care more about what you can actually do for them rather than what you look like on the outside, at least in the beginning. Branding is important as you get further out, but for right now, they don't care. They care about your offer, which is step 2. Quickly design your pricing and craft your offer. Okay, so don't overthink this too much. If it's a lead gen business, it could be, hey, I will get you 50 leads in 45 days. And if I don't, I'll work for free until you do. If it's a content agency, it can be, hey, I'll make you 20 pieces of short form content guaranteed in 30 days, or I'll refund a percentage of your money back, right? The way that I look at these guarantees is you want to risk reverse yourself, okay? There is a risk for a business taking you on as someone who maybe doesn't have as much experience, and that's totally fine. Businesses will work for beginners. You just have to de-risk them and yourself as much as possible. Okay, so I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty contract stuff, but this is possible, I promise you. And pricing, the way I look at it, it's always based on the return that the client can expect, right? So I like to use the 10 to 20% rule, meaning if I can make someone or bring in someone $10,000 to $20,000 worth of business and deals, you could probably charge 10 to 20% of that. So $1,000 to $2,000 a month for your services, right? And as you get more experience, you'll be able to, of course, increase your pricing, charge more, etc. But in the beginning, dude, you just got to focus on replacing your 9 to 5 salary, or just getting to 5 to 10 grand a month as quickly as you possibly can, okay? Without sacrificing the customer experience, which we'll talk about in a bit. But literally just, it comes down to math too. It's really simple. 4 clients at $2,500 a month. That's your 10K. 5 clients at $2,000 a month. 6 to 7 clients at $1,500 a month, right? The math is super simple. Do your own math with what you're comfortable with. And again, all of these things don't require any upfront money. Yes, maybe a phone and a laptop and an internet connection, but chances are if you're watching this video, you've probably already got that. So you're already ahead of it. Step 3 is the most exciting part, at least it was for me, and most nerve-wracking part, client outreach. Okay, your number one goal in time investment should be spent on getting your first initial customers, period. Nothing else. And this you're going to do through cold email and cold calling. So you can either do these by hand, like I did. I literally scraped Google Maps and their websites one by one, got the owner's email, and then reached out accordingly, and then cold called on that as well. Or just set up a basic CRM. It just stands for Customer Relationship Management Software, like HubSpot, Close.com, and then the cold email software I like to use is Instantly.ai. And then to actually get the leads, if you really want to automate that, is Apollo.io. All of these are free, free to an extent. They have free trials with no credit cards needed. So go take advantage of that if you want. And it's just, you got to be careful. Just keep your outreach natural. You don't want to sound robotic. Keep a good script as a foundation, but just focus on genuinely having a conversation with them and asking them questions and seeing if they're even a good fit or if they require your services, right? That's a very, very important piece. The reason I like cold email first and then cold calling on the ones who don't reply is because you have an in. So literally, what sounds better to you? Hey, Mr. Customer, this is actually a cold call. Are you willing to give me 30 seconds? It's that's not bad, but what's better is, hey, Mr. Customer, I actually sent you an email about 7 days ago. Did you have a chance to take a look at that? Oh, sorry. No, I didn't. Do you have the right email? Yeah, I sent it to this one. Here's the subject line. I like to use the subject line, quick question. Oh yeah, sorry. No, I completely missed that. What was the email about? Boom. You have an in, right? You want to give yourself as much leverage on cold calls as much as you possibly can. So I was a big user of that wording. It worked extremely well for me. It was a specific site and template that I reached on to these customers that said, hey, I saw your blank site. I was just actually wondering if you had blank for your services. I was selling appointment setting services. So it worked extremely well for me. Now, side note, I want to bake this in the middle. Record everything. I mean, personally, I really seriously regret not documenting enough and just filming more, because it's not only good practice to look back on when you're speaking and what mistakes you're making, but more so building an audience around this is extremely relatable. People will relate way more to documentation and journey content than they will at someone who's worth 10 or $100 million. That person's still going to be able to give good advice, but you're not going to be able to relate to them to a certain extent as much as you would on someone who's on the come up, who's on that journey. People love seeing that. And what a ton of people are really going through is all this kind of stuff. So they almost attract you like a magnet. Record through your laptop, record through your phone, something, I don't care. Buy a camera off Marketplace. It doesn't matter. Just find a way to record your day when you're building a business. People will trust me on that. And before I get on to step 4, I do have a question for you. Have you tried starting a business before? And if so, what kind? I have a ton of business failures, and I just personally think it's not talked about enough. I did a video about this a while back, but the message was each one of those gave me more ammo for the business that actually became successful when my chips finally hit, when my chips finally came off the table and I was able to be like, oh my God, finally, after 8 different business failures. I only talked about 5 in that video, but finally, after bashing my head against a wall to seeing what works for so many years, I finally found something that worked. So I'm really, really curious to hear if you've either wanted to start a business and you just didn't, what the idea was, or what you actually tried, because I get comments all the time. It's really cool to hear about your guys' story. So I just wanted to answer that or see what that is. Step 4. Focus on giving the first few customers of yours the absolute best client experience ever. I don't care what the hell you have to do. Quick wins, for example, is an easy one, right? For me, it doesn't even have to be about your core offer, but for me, when I ran the lead gen business, I still do, but in the beginning specifically, I would say, okay, you're paying me to run leads and paying me to get you customers, more or less. So when my early customers would onboard with me, I would set expectations right away. Be like, hey, this is not a get rich quick thing. It's going to take time, quite a bit of time to get leads, sometimes a week or two, but I will keep you posted on how things develop through the whole thing. So wins could be when their campaigns went live, how many leads are opting in, what kind of impressions we're getting. It doesn't even have to be the thing that they're paying you for. They basically just want communication. That's all this is. It's hyper-personalized communication on steroids. Clients love this. They will stay with you way longer and trust you way more. And in the beginning, that's what you need, right? You reached out to them cold. You got to provide them a good service. And I'd say minimum for your first 3 to 5, you have to do this. Okay, so keep them on a good leash, add them into Slack, do WhatsApp, whatever. Slack, I think Slack even has a free plan if you wanted to use that. I personally use Slack. It's my communication tool. It's really, really good. And then this is where you can focus on scaling. Once you got your first few clients, once you're cold calling consistently, you're prospecting, you as a business owner should be spending 80% of your time getting more clients to the door until you're at minimum 100 grand a month. I don't care what anyone says. Once you've got some good clients rolling, this is where you finally gain leverage. You say, hey, Mr. Customer, we've been working together for the last 60 to 90 days, couple of months. I would love if you were open to sharing a video review with me on Zoom or Google Meet, recording it, and I could use it for my future marketing. As long as you're doing a half decent job for these people, they will agree. Nobody is opposed. And if you want to, throw a discount their way. Say, hey, if you do this for me, I'll do, 10 to 20% discount. I'll do whatever I got to do just to, hear your feedback. And just obviously make sure it's good. Don't be, tone deaf. Make sure you're actually doing a good job for them before you ask for something like this. But most will be super chill with it. And you want to get numbers saying, hey, where were you before working with me? Where are you now after? Where are you today? They're going to give you quantifiable numbers, because then prospective customers, new potential customers, love seeing what you've already done, right? This is where things start to snowball. This is where things start to work in your favor, because one review, one case study can change your entire business. One case study, one review can take you from nothing to multiple 7 figures. That's exactly what it did for me. Now we're just compounding. We have like 25, 30, different case studies at any given time. You need to market those properly. And if you don't, you're going to screw yourself. Cold email can only take you so far if you don't have the proper reviews. Okay. This goes back to the pricing stuff. If you absolutely need, this is almost like a bonus tip. If you are just struggling to get customers, obviously as I'm recording this, it's early 2025. The market is finally looking more optimistic and more better, but there was a dry period in 2024 where it was really hard to get on board customers, especially for new agency owners. Do work for free. I can't tell you how many buddies of mine that started with free work are now making over 6 figures a month because they literally just needed case studies. They're like, I know these case studies long-term are worth more to me than any short-term amount of money. They are worth more than $10,000 to me right now. This case study is going to make me hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I'd rather do the free work, which is what 9 out of 10 people aren't willing to do up front. That's going to show a lot to the business owner. Make sure that it's the right person though, because certain business owners are very cheap. They're very rude and prickish to work with. You want to stay far away from those no matter what. I don't care if they're paying you $10,000 a month. Leave those. There's no need to work with those, especially on a free basis. So find someone that's good. Find someone that you jive well with. And especially if they're a little like wary of paying, say like, hey, I'll do it on a straight commission basis. And you give me your word that if this thing goes well, you agree to a case study. We will film it on this day, this time, at this location. And as long as you get that sign off, then you're good, man. So again, I'm oversimplifying this, but I really seriously think if you do this properly, you can print, you can crush. These are really good businesses to be a part of, and I want to hear your feedback. So any questions, let me know. As always, if you've made it this far, I want to see you win, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you.